And welcome to part three of the championship mindset. Today is April 29th, 2012, and we're going to be covering the practical application of the championship mindset. My name is Corky Kemp, and I'm coming to you from Greensboro, North Carolina. I work with College Golf Fellowship as the Eastern Director, and again, need to thank Mark Lash for setting this up. And wanted to give a special shout out to Coach Jameson at West Texas A&M University. Go Buffs! Thanks for tuning in. And to get to it, we'll do a little review of where we've been in parts one and two, and then get to this practical application today. But I can remember at NC State where I played my college golf, and we had some qualifying. Things did not go my way. And as I was getting into my car, slammed my trunk, peeled out of the parking lot. I'm sure a lot of the members looked. And then on the way home, I'm just thinking I want to wrap my car around a tree because I'm so mad right now. And I wish I would have had the things that we're covering today back then. But I think my identity was purely wrapped up in golf and my ability to play and make the team and whatnot. And when I didn't make top five that tournament, things just got way out of hand. So let's review real quick from parts one and two, and I will use the PowerPoint as I have in the past. So in review, part one for the championship mindset, we covered who are you? So we went over the equation that your identity, your self-worth, equals your personal performance plus other people's opinions. And we talked about the killer bees, the way the world judges people, beauty, brains, ball game, bedroom, billfold. And we asked, does the Lord judge that way? And the answer was definitely not. And the opposing equation, or the biblical equation that we introduced, was that your identity, our self-worth, is who I am in God's eyes. We have infinite worth, infinite value. We're secure in relationship with God, and we're called to live a life of significance. And the security of that relationship is not our own good deeds. Obviously, the security of our relationship with God is purely coming to faith in Christ for the forgiveness of sins. Not by our good works, but by His good work. And then next, we covered what do we do? We said work hard, play to win, do not fear, trust in God, share the victory. So running through those real quick. The summary statement that we had from parts one and two. Who am I? I am a person uniquely created in the image of God, who is unconditionally loved by the God of the universe, who endowed me with gifts and talents to live intentionally with the ultimate purpose of glorifying God as I live to leave a lasting legacy. So that was parts one and two. We covered who are you, what do you do, and then today will be just a practical application. We're going to go through three scenarios of typical golfer. The three scenarios we're going to cover are going to include a missed cut, a made cut, finish 40th, kind of back of the pack, and then a tournament win. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to evaluate each scenario with two different mindsets. So before we start there, I want to just have a couple quotes from some PGA Tour guys that I think have this championship mindset and that really seem to integrate their faith and their golf well. Zach Johnson said, I've always prayed that God would help me to learn something every day on the golf course. And if you look at Zach's progression, he was a decent, pretty good player at Drake, and then and Drake is definitely not traditionally not an NCAA powerhouse. Turns professional. I played with him out there in the Hooters Tour, worked his way up the Hooters Tour where he won a bunch out there, went on to the Nationwide Tour, and then obviously PGA Tour, won the Masters. And Zach said he's always prayed that God would help him to learn something every day. It's cool to see. He obviously learned something along the way every day. So it's a pretty cool prayer to pray um, for those of us out here. And then another quote. This one will be from Mark Wilson. Bear with me as I read. I tell young golfers who aspire to make it that there are sacrifices they will need to make to succeed at a high level. They have a bigger goal in mind than a lot of their friends. But I also tell them that bouncing back from hardships is what builds character. You just do a disservice to yourself if you pout and walk away from a bad round and slam your clubs and just forget about it, thinking that tomorrow will be a better day. You need to learn from those low points how you can get better. But you can also never miss the good stuff. I keep a diary of the greatest shots I've ever hit. After every round I play, I write down 3 or 4 of my favorite drives and iron shots and putts. That way I can dwell on those good times and remember all the good things I do in the game. So, good quote from Mark Wilson. He played at UNC back in my day when I was at NC State, and again, this guy really maximizes his talents, and good perspective there. We can't just be trunk slamming and thinking it's going to get better magically. It's good to analyze, learn from the bad stuff, but even focus on the good stuff. I love how Mark says that he writes down 3 or 4 of his best shots from every round, and he's got a whole binder full of his best shots. So he'll ultimately remember the good shots and not the bad. And then another quote from this one's from Tom Lehman. And Tom's the only player that's been Player of the Year on the PGA Tour, Champions Tour, and Nationwide Tour. Tom speaking, what has been most exciting for me as my life has gone on has been the ability to answer the questions, why do I want to be good? Why do I want to be the best I can be? Why do I want to win majors and be Player of the Year? Why do I want to achieve such a high standard of play? The answer is that I see golf as a platform God has provided for me to have influence in a world that is hurting and looking for answers. People ask themselves, why am I here? They think there has to be more to life than this. And then Lehman continues, I believe God has given me the opportunity over all of these years to understand the purposes He has for whatever successes on this earth that I've had. He's given me the desire to use whatever influence my position in golf has provided to be used by Him in a significant way. I completely believe in the importance of Jesus' words when he asked, for what does it profit a man to gain the world yet forfeit his soul? If I remember this mindset on a daily basis, it keeps in the forefront of my mind 3 things. God has a way bigger plan than I can possibly imagine, to humble myself before Him constantly, and to realize that I am weak, but He is strong. I want people to know that if there is anything good that they see in me, it is because of the grace and mercy God has shown me. I also want them to know that I'm not perfect, but that very same grace and mercy gives me the ability to live life with a peace and joy that I would not trade for anything in the world. And both these quotes come from Links Players Magazine 2012. So, Lehman, seasoned veteran, speaking truth into the lives of other golfers. And I think we can definitely apply a lot of what Tom said, just as far as why do we want to be good. Ultimately, it's not me and, hey, look at me, here's my jersey, here's my name. That as believers, it goes much more deep than that. And that God's given us a platform, and we can use the gifts, talents, and abilities that He's given us, ultimately not for our glory, but for His glory. So that's a common theme in a lot of these Christian athletes, that it's not for their glory, but they're playing for God's glory. So here we are today, part 3, practical application, and we're going to look at 2 equations. So the world's lie is that our self-worth equates to personal performance plus other people's opinions. So the way that probably most of us grew up, and the way that if you watch TV or movies or you name it, they're going to define someone's self-worth as what people think of them and how they perform. And we're going to call that the world's lie. And then God's word, the other equation, our self-worth equals God's truth about us. And success and approval cannot ultimately fulfill us. You'll see guys that climb the corporate ladder 30 years, finally become CEO, and then you hear them say, I thought it was going to be a lot more. Or even like Bernhard Langer, who said, if he was number one in the world and won a major, he felt like he would be set, fulfilled in life. Does that, wins the Masters, wakes up Monday morning and says, there's got to be something more. No matter the sport, the business, you name it, things of this world are just not going to fulfill us because we're made to be in relationship with God. And if we don't have that relationship, then we can strive our entire life and never have the joy and the peace and the meaning and the value and the purpose in this life that God calls us to have, wants us to have, desires for us to have. So let's dive in here. And with everything that comes our way, how we filter events, situations are going to come our way, and whatever we believe, specifically we're talking here about where our self-worth is coming from. Whatever we believe is going to determine what we think, which will in turn lead to our emotions, and then ultimately lead to our actions. So situations come our way, depending on whatever we believe, that situation will be filtered through a grid, and our thoughts will be determined by what we believe, and those will lead to emotions, which will lead to actions. So, scenario number one, miscut, and we're going to look at this through the worldly mindset. Alright, so if we miss a cut in the worldly mindset, then our self-worth is dependent on personal performance plus other people's opinions, then our thoughts are going to be, I'm a terrible golfer, I suck, I'm no good, everybody else is better than me, even, I'm a bad person, things like that. Emotions in this mindset, you're just going to be really depressed. There's not going to be much hope. There's not going to be any valuable lessons learned. Probably trunk slamming, and ultimately that'll lead to some actions and playing on the mini tours and just seeing how people react with miscuts. A lot of times it'll be self-destructive behavior, whether with substances or other people, but we'll try to alleviate the despair of the miscut through various activities. Okay? So in contrast, we miss a cut, and we have the championship mindset, and our self-worth is God's truth about us, that we have infinite value, we're secure in the relationship with God, we're called to live a life of significance. Then we'll filter that through, and then our thoughts will be, obviously we'll be a little bit, we'll be upset, disappointed, but it won't be to the ground zero level of the worldly mindset. We'll probably think there's a lot to learn. I'm going to write down what I learned today, lessons I learned, and even write down, hey, I had a lot of good shots. I can remember the good shots and not just the bad. Our emotions, as we said, will be a little bit down, but yet in proper perspective. This is not the end of the world. There's more important things in life. And then our actions, hopefully, would be maybe pray to God, how can I prepare for this next tournament better? What are the things that I didn't do in preparation for this tournament that I could do for the next tournament? And that's something that I didn't read the quote from Lehman, but what another part of the article that he wrote, or that was in the Links magazine, was that oftentimes if he doesn't get the performance that he desires, then he'll go back and look at what was the preparation that went into that. How can he change that? What can he add? What can he subtract? What can he do better to prepare for the next tournament? Not just be in focus, hey, I didn't get the results, so I'm depressed, but what can I do better to improve for the next time? And So Lehman articulates that well in his article. The next scenario we're going to go to will be the worldly mindset, and we made the cut, finished 40th. Okay, so this one, if your self-worth equals personal performance plus other people's opinions, you're going to be somewhat gratified, but yet still probably going to be pretty down, probably not going to have too many positives to draw from this life event. And maybe you'll be complaining about the greens or the bad breaks you got. Other people you played with, of course, it's not your fault that you finished 40th. You should, the emotions would be, I'm an okay person. You almost equate your finish to how good a person you are in this mindset. So, you're better than everybody that missed the cut. But then the people that finish way above you, they're better people than you. Oftentimes that's a thought. And then the actions would be probably just focusing on the negatives. The triple bogey you made. You probably don't remember anything about the 8 birdies that you had for the week, but you remember the triple, and that's all you remember. And so there's not a whole lot of positive in this mindset that comes from a made cut, finishing 40th. Next, we have the championship mindset, made cut, finishing 40th. Your thoughts are going to be, hey, I was thankful to have the ability to tee it up this week, and that there's a lot of positives to draw from. You've been working hard, working smart, and that things are going in the right direction. You're focused on the positives. Maybe like Mark Wilson, you're writing down, your best shots, your best putts, your best iron shots. And like Lehman mentions, maybe you're just thinking, okay, this was a good, decent week. I can prepare better next time, and these are the things that I can do different potentially next time. And actions is going to be a lot more positive than we talked about with the worldly mindset. And we're just to note, I'm not covering this in full detail. We're just flying through this. I'm mentioning thoughts, but I think as the listener, you all can get an idea of where we're going with this. And everything I say is not, doesn't have to be exactly what this person thinks if they're in the worldly mindset or the championship mindset. These are just general examples. So next we'll go to winning a tournament in the worldly mindset. If your self-worth equals personal performance plus other people's opinions, if you buy into what other people think of you and how you perform is who you are, then you're going to be fired up, and this is going to be maybe one of the high points of your life. It's going to be a point to where you look at everybody else and you're like, I'm better than everybody else. I'm the man, I'm the woman, everybody else stinks, and I'm awesome. And you're probably going to get a big head, big ego. You're going to become arrogant, and people around you are not going to like it. Emotions that go along with that, obviously you're on a huge high. But as we mentioned before, even that high, it doesn't last as long as maybe we think it would. And then actions, we covered that a little bit. In contrast, in championship mindset, and your self-worth is God's truth about you win a tournament, you're fired up. This is an awesome thing. Your hard work is paid off. It's almost humbling. Instead of being prideful, you're humbled. God's giving you this opportunity. You're playing to glorify Him. And, there's some deep satisfaction that goes along with that. But it's not that, hey, I'm a better person than everybody else, or I'm more important. It's more of just thankful, humbled, and you're encouraged by the hard work that's paying off. So totally different. How you're going to treat your friends after you win in this mindset. Hopefully you won't get a big ego, and you keep it in perspective too, right? I mean, you win the tournament, that's awesome, but yet there's still a lot more important things in life. You see, I gotta reference my boy Tim Tebow. Um, he was asked what he thought about this great fame that he has had now, or that he has. Um, what he thoughts about that. What are the benefits of that? And Tebow's answer was phenomenal. He said, "Well, he said before I would have to contact various people at the hospitals before I went in and talked to the kids there in the hospitals." He says, "But now with all this fame and everything that's come," he said, "I can just call the hospital, go straight in, and go talk to the kids and encourage them." And you're like, that thought probably, I don't know if that thought has ever crossed anybody else's mind, but the beauty of that is that he's not all about just himself, and he's about caring for others. And he's definitely using that platform to impact others for eternity, taking care of young people. I know with every home and away game, he brings in a somebody he can encourage, maybe somebody who has cancer or somebody who's disabled, and spends time with that person before and after the game. And Tim just goes about it in a phenomenal fashion. So, in conclusion, for the 1, 2, and 3 part series of a championship mindset, if we're going to keep it simple, if we're going to have one main point, that one main point it's going to be having Jesus Christ first in your life. And forgive the misspelling there, first in your life. But that is the championship mindset. And so when we have God first in everything that we do, our life's gonna have the joy and the peace that God desires for us. It's not going to be an easy road. There's no guarantee. If you come to faith, you'll win on the PGA Tour or whatever the case may be. But you know that even through trials and tribulations, there's a verse, Romans 8:28, says all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called to His purposes. So no matter what happens, no matter what happens, you know that God's in control, and that the situation can be a trial that can result in positive or negative, and that the Holy Spirit guiding you, me, no matter what the situation, that God is working out His plans on earth. Webb Simpson had a great tweet after he lost to Bubba Watson last year in the New Orleans tournament, which is going on right now. And that's the tournament where Webb lined up for the 5-inch putt and the ball moved, and he ends up losing to Bubba Watson in the playoff. And Webb tweeted after the round, he said, "God knew every shot I was going to hit before I teed it up today." God knew every shot I was going to hit before I teed it up today. And so, Webb's definitely has a championship mindset. He knows that God's in control. He's called to be faithful, and work hard, do not fear, play to win, live a life of significance. But that his self-worth is not purely in personal performance, what other people think. Self-worth is in who he is in God's eyes. So that'd be my encouragement to you all, that having Jesus Christ first in your life. So thank you so much for joining us, and I hope this has been an encouragement. Next week we'll have a different College Golf Fellowship staff member, and we hope that conference championships have gone well for you all. And for those of you going to regionals, wish you well. And we'll be in touch. We do have, if you can check out the website, we have summer retreats at Davis Love's house. We have them in California, Colorado, Texas, with College Golf Fellowship this summer. They're free. And so, little ad for that, but you can check out the website, and we'd love to hear from you. So my email, corky.kemp@gmail.com, KORKYKEMP, corky.kemp@gmail.com. Love to hear from you, and we'll be in touch. Thanks.